Today we're looking at another random civilian on TikTok who has brought mass attention onto themselves. Of course, not purposefully. But about a week ago, a TikTok with the title "Workers' Rights" was posted, and it now has 4.5 million views and has caused controversy around this country. Okay, let's watch it.
So I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know, are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time?
So I'm gonna stop the video very, very quickly, just because I feel like a lot of people are gonna be confused off the bat. When I recorded this video for the first time, I kind of let the whole thing play, but I feel like
Marianne was already on the show. Is this a react one?
it is worth it to at least get an idea of what's going on here. I'm sort of learning about this drama as I tell you, so hang on. So this girl is applying for what I assume would be a university. I'm assuming she's trying to apply to colleges. She's on the phone with someone from the college, and she asks the
Please, Kaya not knowing how to swim won't keep her out of the water. It will just leave her unprepared for when it happens. Please give her the skills to protect herself. You have a wild take on this. Yeah. Please! Except, I've had dogs before, and also on top of that, my brother's dog as well is just fucking objectively terrified of the water, so she doesn't go in. I would rather have a dog not be excited to go into the water. And I didn't even say that I will never put her in the water. I said that I might, at least in a different place, and not in my own backyard, because I do not want her to go into that body of water. Because I do not want her to go into that body of water for multiple reasons. There could very easily be a situation. Don't do it for yourself or Kaya's safety. Do it to calm my mental illness.
question.
Are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time? You know. And then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was asking something else. And then when we were done, they actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist. And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. Now this video, of course, blows up, but the big reason that it's blowing up so much, of course, is because there are a lot of people making fun of her for using the term time blindness and being upset that a college wouldn't offer accommodations for time blindness. And so we will look at the comments. We'll see, whoa, this lady has the same name as my mom. I found this article on time blindness written by my mom. What's up? So of course there's a lot of people who sort of scoff. They scoff at this video and they go, this girl wants accommodations for being late to work. And that's like the general consensus of most people, especially people who like aren't very online in the world of Zoomers who are neurodivergent. And I am a neurodivergent Zoomer. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 14. I've been medicated since then. And I am someone who has received special accommodations for my ADHD when I was in a university, which means I have the right to talk about the true take you should have on this opinion. There is no like true take, okay? We'll get to it. I think there's goofy parts about this story. I think there's parts that we should touch on, but let's start with the
Zoomers, dude. Fucking Zoomers, dude.
time blindness thing. A lot of people are confused about what time blindness is. It sounds silly. I don't blame you. Let me try to explain, at least from what I have read, what this is. So time blindness is a pretty popular symptom of ADHD. It also exists pretty rarely in neurotypical people, but people with ADHD, of course, have been studied and proven to have a problem with the perception of time. It's really difficult for people who have this symptom to be able to tell how long they've been doing something for, how long they have left on a certain project. I mean, there's plenty of symptoms for it. Of course, this article do your own research or whatever. But time blindness shows up in a bunch of different ways: underestimating, overestimating how much time has passed, chronically missing deadlines or arriving late, even for things that you're excited about, difficulty making a realistic schedule or sticking to a schedule, constantly losing track of time, frequently feeling like time is slipping away. These are things that I think everyone experiences in small amounts, but for specific people, it is a much bigger problem. And it doesn't just necessarily boil down to someone being inconsiderate of others' times. That's never really the intention with people who have symptoms of time blindness. And I know you're starting to get bored, okay? I'm teaching you about science and stuff. But yeah, basically the idea is that, you know, universities can give accommodations to people with disabilities or people.
Yeah, that's why you guys are fucking ableist. Every time you make fun of me for being late to events. Yeah, how do you feel? You know what? I've decided 180% or 180 degree switch on this. I have swapped sides on this battle. You guys are literally fucking ableist for making fun of me all the time, for being late. I have time blindness due to my ADHD. That's right.
People who have specific needs that need to be met in order for them to be in the best environment they can be in to learn, I guess. So the only accommodations that I got when I was in college for my ADHD OCD was having more flexibility, choosing my schedule in school so I can be better organized, and I can have my classes right next to each other, so it's not like I have to go back and forth from being at home and going to school all day. And then I'd also be offered things like extra time on tests or a quiet space if I need to take a test and I'm too distracted. Those are the sort of things that colleges can help you out with if you are someone that does need help with schoolwork or attention or whatever it is that you might need. I'm starting to realize though that this original TikTok might be about a job. Originally I thought it was about a job, and then I'm like, oh, this is about a university because she was saying she was applying to go somewhere. But then the hashtags say hashtag workers, hashtag capitalism sucks, hashtag capitalism, hashtag the system is broken. So, okay, I'm getting a little scattered. Let's get back to the TikTok and then we'll talk about this.
And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. You know, provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace.
So she originally says that she's in the room with another person who kind of cuts her off and asks a different question when she asks the question about the time blindness. And then she goes on to be like, oh, people in your...
I want you to know I'm slowly pulling a ladder up behind me boomer style. I had it hard. You should too style watching this law. I mean, accommodations are great. I think it's awesome. Use it, kings and queens and the emperors. But like I said, as far as like this being like a true problem with workers' rights or whatever the fuck she was trying to present it as, it's fucking ridiculous, especially as it pertains to like group projects and things of that nature. You know, I have ADHD. I have time blindness, I guess. I mean, I have trouble keeping track of time, but ultimately, you know, luckily we have alarms, like a lot of alarms. You know, I have 1,000 alarms. Entirely relevant. I mean, it's entirely dependent on what we are talking about. It's entirely dependent on like what the project is or what the time frame is.
Generation, this and that, and says that the person yelled at her saying that she's never going to get a job if she can't, you know, manage her time correctly and just like be a normal person. But I did hear from someone, and I don't know when this is going to come up. I did hear that that person's her mom. And it does make a lot more sense that way, that this is the person's parent. This sounds like a very normal thing that parents would do, right? At least in like our generation, it's a whole thing of like parents struggling to understand the needs of people that understand that they can perform better or be a better student or an overall more helpful human being if there are certain accommodations.
So you have alarm shot today too? Maybe it isn't as bad for her as you. I mean, I do, yeah. It's called 30,000 Micromanagers and a regular CF top of the hour ad break segues, which I already gave to you. So, you know, it's not going to happen right now. I gave it to you 10 minutes ago.
That help them out with their disability. A lot of this TikTok is someone who is in a fight with their parent, and that doesn't mean that one of them is right and one of them's wrong, but I feel like it changes a lot of things about how the story is perceived. I just don't think we should be making huge assumptions based off of what we see here. Let's watch the rest of the TikTok though.
And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we could look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled. And then I asked that person, how can you feel good about yourself upholding this kind of system? And then to think, I'm entitled. No, if people think it's okay to treat others like this, that's entitlement.
Okay, so the argument dies down. I think probably best to leave it off of TikTok, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Hindsight 2020. This video is posted and it blows up on TikTok and everyone's just flaming this girl. You've got comments that say, LOL, early to bed, early to rise. It's called adulting. Time blindness? Grow up, honey. Millions of others can do it. You aren't special or above anyone. Thanks for my little laugh of the day. Accommodations for time blindness. She responds, says that time blindness is a common part of ADHD. It's not a disability itself. The world is so cold that everyone lacks basic empathy. Just constant comments. Self-victimization will never lead to success. I think.
Yeah, you know, because it's a little bit on one. It's a little bit one of those things where it's like it's a burden, but in certain circumstances, maybe it's your burden to bear. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a boomer, but as someone who has like brain crippling ADHD myself, I just kind of learn, create structures and some level of rigidity to not make it other people's problems, kind of, you know what I mean? And then it also turns into an issue when people are just like, well, what about wheelchair accommodations or some shit? And it's like, yeah, that's different. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not over here being like, Braille, that's fucking stupid. Like, that would be ridiculous. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a problem. Infinite empathy, except for people who have your things. ADHD, fat. Yeah, I famously have no empathy for fat people. That's why I regularly talk about how fucking stupid fat shaming is. The reality is, you know, the way I see it is almost like, and this will probably get me fucking actually canceled, like the people maybe sometimes taking advantage of the animal service animal situation. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't need to have one and you're just kind of using it as an opportunity to bring your pet along. And honestly, who the fuck is going to get mad that you've brought a pet along on a journey? A bad person. Which is why, go ahead, kings and queens, take advantage of it. And then similar situation here. It's like if people have accommodations for time blindness, and then they take it. It's great. Nice save, I guess. Like, here's another thing. I don't need your fucking approval. Like, what do you mean save? Like, you think I'm afraid? You think there is a planet where people don't fucking clown on every motherfucker with ADHD? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? I get fucking clowned on for having ADHD regularly. What save do I think? Do I think I need Gorg Boy's graces? Like, what were you going to do, man? Go to Twitter and write fucking ADHD? You write a fucking a Twitter thread about how I'm being incredibly ableist towards those with ADHD? Go ahead. Knock yourself out. You'll get like 20 likes on it and then 1,000 quote tweets dunking on you until you literally feel embarrassed to walk outside. What do you mean, nice save then? That would be weird. Okay, what am I saving myself from?
think the other solution is taking responsibility for yourself. Genuinely thought this was satire. The TikTokers are coming after her today. And listen, while I understand how a situation on one hand can just something like this can look really funny for someone, like, oh, someone struggles at making it on time to places, welcome to being a teenager. There's a lot of that, okay, and I get it. I think there are parts of this that come off as a little goofy to some people. If someone tells
the abuse of service animal exception is actually a problem for people who really need service animals. All the people with completely untrained, unnecessary emotional support animals has made business in the public generally much more wary to those who actually need service animals. Yeah, no, I know, which is why I think there should be some regulations surrounding it, like your emotional support animal, if you have one, you have to fucking train them. Like 100%. Because there is not a single fucking person on this planet that's like blind or needs like an emotional or like an actual service animal has an untrained one. They're trained. You have to have your emotional service pet trained. Like, you can't just like slap on a vest and be like, nope, that's it. Wait, I thought all service animals were trained? No, people fake it. I mean, I think all people who have animals should train them 100%. But especially people who claim emotional service. There's a distinction in regulation. There's a distinction in regulation between emotional support animals. No, the regulation doesn't surround actual training and like and no, there isn't. There isn't one. You're wrong about that. Like, yes, real emotional, not real emotional, real service dogs are trained. Of course, they have to be. But for service animals, due to the ADA, you can't really ask what kind of disability someone has or what kind of necessity they have for it. And your doctor could basically write you a script with ease, and then you can just get a vest. And even though people are not allowed to ask you, you can actually have documentation. Training is expensive. Can government subsidize through healthcare? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I'm talking about people who are like fake getting a fucking emotional service dog vest. I'm not talking about like actual service animals. Hey, guess what, dude? Actual service animals that people need are fucking trained. Like, what are you talking about? No blind person is like, oh yeah, this is my service dog. And then the dog is like running around going crazy, okay? No, they actually do have to serve a purpose. I'm talking for all the people who are like, this is my chihuahua. This is so dumb. Anyway, we have a doctor's note for our dog that basically makes it so they can't refuse our dog an apartment. I don't have to pay for pet rent. Can't bring it anywhere, though. Fucked up for people that bring their untrained animals out. Yeah. You advocated for required training for emotional support? Yeah. I do believe that. Yes. I do believe that. I think that if you have a fucking dog that is going to be out in fucking public and you want to bring your fucking dog to the cafe, to the restaurant, on a fucking plane, train your fucking dog. What kind of bullshit is this? Motherfuckers are like, sorry, I'm neurodivergent and so is my fucking dog. Like, okay, well then you can't have him out there, okay? You think you would come in here? I'm literally a fascist with how hard I train Kaya. You're out of your fucking mind if you think that I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you should let your dog run loose and wild. That's why I get so mad when Chad is like, brah, why don't you have your dog out and and going crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, yeah. If you are interrupting the work of a service animal, you are putting human life at risk. Speaking head in a silhouette. What? I didn't say that. Who has said that? My emotional support pug also suffers from severe anxiety. Should just ... go through training. Yeah, real cool, bro. Well, it literally doesn't fucking matter if you're just gonna have your pug be at home. But yeah, your pug should go through training. Yes. What do you mean suffers from anxiety? You're fucking around, right? What are you saying to me right now? Yeah, you know how you fucking get a dog to no longer suffer from anxiety? Train them. Okay, it is sad.
With perceiving time, with getting things undone. It's really easy for someone to turn around and be like, just use an alarm. And on one hand, sure, we've been given like this infinite amount of resources when it comes to tools that can assist us when it comes to learning or working or socializing or whatever facet of life it may be. Of course, there's still a responsibility on yourself to try to manage that time the best you can, to take care of yourself. It's all self-care. It's all for you to be the best person you can be. With all of these, you know, comments not crazy about it, I think in a setting like university, it'd be very fair to ask for accommodations for time, and struggling with time in general is something that students could always use, and especially those who suffer with it extra. There are symptoms in ADHD that are harder to control. It's not really as simple as like just telling someone to focus. And of course, this is different when we're talking about something like time perception versus focus, but I still think it isn't the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Animals can have anxiety or PTSD, you fucking idiot. Not always. Shit like PTSD can have lifelong impacts. It can't train a dog or human out of it. Literally rewires their brain. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. If you have a pit bull with PTSD, like one of my friends had, okay, don't fucking ever put the fucking pit bull outside, okay? That's it. That's it. If you can't train your pit bull who has PTSD due to being like, I don't know, a bait dog or something like that, and that happens all the fucking time, it's wonderful and lovely that you, took care of this dog, but like, just don't fucking take your dog outside like that. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're walking your dog. Like, these are accommodations that my friends had to make for this dog that they were taking care of at the time before he passed. Never having the dog be around other dogs when they're walking down the street. Maybe even having like additional, like a muzzle or something, like an additional accommodation on top of that. It happens. You know, give the pit bull its own emotional support. Pit bull, you can't do that. The pit bull will eat the other pit bull. Have you ever noticed that service animals look miserable and dead on inside? I feel for them. I have not noticed that. I don't agree with you. And also, I don't look at emotional service animals because if I look at them, I will have to pet them, and you're not supposed to do that. So when I go to the airport terminal, okay, when I go to any situation where I'm around a fucking dog that I'm not supposed to pet, I will not look at that dog. Because if I look at the dog, I'm going to pet it. I'm going to pet the dog. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm not supposed to do that, so I'm not doing it. I'm not looking at your fucking service dog, okay? I was a community full of motherfuckers that will meticulously craft a hypothetical counter argument to every single thing you say. Holy shit. It's just, you know, is what it is. Petting is breaking the law. Bitch, I'll go to jail. I don't give a fuck. If I make eye contact with your fucking drug-sniffing beagle, I'm petting that shit, okay? And especially, if I'm going to jail, I'm petting your dog extra hard. I might as well I might as well go on a joyride at that point. I might as well just give a couple extra pats, okay? You know? That's how you take down a canine. It would respect your vibes and you would pet it. Yeah, and exactly. Petting them is basically thanking them for their service. So I'm always. I almost got arrested for getting in a drug sniffing beagle's way at the airport. That's insane. All right,
It's not like this mind-blowing Zoomer terminology that's just destroying my brain. And again, I know there's a lot of people that watch stuff like this and they go, okay, we don't really need to post the video of you crying in the argument with your mom and this and that. I think really we should all not be a part of this. But it seems like TikTok took it onto themselves to really just not let up about this. Like, there are so many people who are like, if you can't be at your job at a certain time, just like plan for it beforehand. I have motivation deficiency. My boss has no empathy. And listen, I know I'm playing both sides here because I really am just kind of like, ugh, like who cares? Why are people this mad about it? But then on the other hand, I'm like, it's TikTok. Like, I don't know. You should have seen this coming. These people are just like, they're waiting to goof on somebody. I mean, look at me. I'm making a video about it. And this caused a lot of TikToks to be made like this one that were,
Flying to go somewhere,
kind of goofing on
Are there
her.
accommodations?
That person is upset about lack of accommodation for time blindness, which is essentially complaining about not being allowed to be late all the time.
And listen, I want to goof on someone as much as the next person. I know I'm being kind of lame in this video because everyone's being mean and I'm trying to be Mr. Nice Guy and look at both sides. But I do think at least we can say that it's a little bit in bad faith to say that the time blindness thing is essentially complaining about not being allowed to be late all the time. I would bet that that isn't really what she's asking for specifically. We don't even know the job she was applying for or what it was she was applying for in the first place. There for sure could be parts of the job that she is worried she will struggle with. Do I think that you're going to get the best response by asking for accommodations to time blindness? I don't think it's the most strategic way to go about getting help for something like that. But at the same time, I am looking at what people on the internet are saying, and most of my response is just like, can we just like lay off a little bit? Like, this is a kid who is going through a hard time and can't really like, I don't know. Let's just keep watching it though.
About not being allowed to be late all the time. So I want to share some accommodations that are readily available for people with time blindness.
So this is a clock. You probably have a few around your house. They actually make clocks you can wear on your body. It's called a watch. And if you're worried that you'll forget to check those clocks, there are also alarms.
And this is like the common joke. It's like, have you heard of a clock? Have you heard of like just planning ahead?
I mean, it's fucking, I'm just not wrong. Like, that's how you do it. Your ADHD will not be cured, but it's more so about like not letting a disorder make you non-functioning. So technically, you know, we just got to work around it. I fucking set a shitload of alarms. I have a calendar that has literally every single thing I'm doing on that day. I purposely ask every single person that is supposed to deal with me to send me a Google Calendar invite, so it's automatically on my. It was automatically something that I know. You know, it's just on my fucking calendar. I do have a phone that I look at all the time to see what's coming up. I have reminders. Routine is a huge way to deal with it too. Like, these are all things that you can do. And should do. That's what you should do. That's what I have done in order to. I don't really think she has not heard of clocks. No, I don't think she has not heard of clocks. I know she has heard of clocks. There is one on her phone, obviously. The point is, there are ways around dealing with a disorder that you have. and not every single disorder is the same. And you just kind of have to figure out the best methods of dealing with it. So I am telling you, as someone who deals with it, and I'm telling you what the best methods are. You know what I mean? Like, this kind of stuff is not always going to, accommodations in this regard are not always going to be given to you. In many respects, it's not going to be given to you. In some situations, it's not even, you can't even do it. You know what I mean? As our Zoomer correspondent also admitted. You know?
Of things. And I do think that the person in the original TikTok could have explained her reasoning in a better way, as we'll come to see. But at the same time, I think that symptoms like this exist in more of a way where you're trying to complete a task and suddenly you get lost in something else and completely forget what you were trying to do in the first place. Of course, we can look at the kids and go, oh, look, you're lazy. You're just trying to do another thing to get yourself out of work. But I think it's pretty obvious that the person in the original video isn't trying to take advantage of this time blindness thing. It more seems like she's kind of struggling with being able to work and struggling with figuring out the most advantageous way for her to get things done, and it doesn't really seem like anyone else is trying to help her out in that regard. And I know that's not really like the funny answer or whatever, but I also am like, guys, like we don't need people like this to just like dig their heels into someone who is like going, like is just not understood. I think this is more something where we should look at the person making the video and say, okay, the original issue we're looking at is that this girl does not feel comfortable in whatever position she's applying for because she thinks that she might have problems with her ADHD that would conflict with that. And there are people who are on the other side of this agreeing with a lot of what she's saying. So this is someone who is stitching. This a stitch or a duet? This is a duet. This is someone who's duetting the original video saying time blindness is real. Too many old and young bullies have stitched this creator to act like the very people she was talking about. It's not a generational thing or fixed by having an alarm clock, as I've seen many people say. I suspect there's also people who unknowingly suffer with it, that have gaslit themselves into submission, been bullied over it, and think they should get it together like they did. And I think a big reason...
I mean, the real reason why this was funny is because she was crying, and it turns out that it was because her mom was, like, saying no. Like, that's the major point of contention, and that she is, like, surrounding this with like a labor rights. She's surrounding this conversation. She's talking about it like it's a fault and failure of capitalism, and that she's like applying for a job and a boss is like shitting on her, which is precisely the reason why everyone was like, wait a minute, like, yeah, you can't, like, there are certain jobs where you just cannot fucking be like, well, can you accommodate for my time blindness? You know what I mean? Especially on team projects, things of that nature. So then they also found out that she was transphobic. Then they also found out that she was pro-life, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it turned into a much larger thing for her. I mean, she is a literal teenager, ultimately. I'm sure she'll grow out of it. But, you know, that's the main reason why this was such a slam dunk, ultimately. You know what's really crazy? I'm done covering this, I think. Okay. Wait, what is this? Felix said, I think a lot of behaviors and problems are over-attributed to ADHD, but generally it makes sense that everyone who looks at a phone and work/fun screens all day feels this way. If this is just what it's going to be, the government should give everyone Adderall 25 XRs for free. I agree. Good take.